The underestimated species. First contact gone wrong. The stars had always been quiet for humanity. We looked up at them with wonder, dreaming of the day we would join the cosmic community. When the Confederation ships appeared in Earth's orbit, we thought our dream had finally come true. We were wrong. Ambassador Chen stood in the United Earth Council chamber, her hands trembling as she read the translated message for the third time. The words hadn't changed. They still burned with the same cold dismissal. Species classification, Deathworlder. Threat level, minimal. Recommended action, containment and observation. The alien delegates from the Galactic Confederation hadn't even bothered to land. They transmitted their judgment from orbit, as if Earth were a quarantine zone. To them, we were primitives. Dangerous primitives, yes, but ultimately insignificant. The Galactic Hierarchy. Captain Marcus Webb reviewed the intelligence reports in his cramped office aboard the orbital station Unity 1. Over the past 6 months, humanity had learned the harsh truth about galactic politics. The Confederation wasn't a democracy. It was a hierarchy based on technological advancement and military power. At the top stood the architects, ancient beings who could manipulate reality itself. Below them were the Dominion races, species with advanced energy weapons and faster-than-light travel that put Earth's experimental drives to shame. Then came the protected worlds, civilizations deemed worthy of trade and cultural exchange. And at the bottom, marked with red warnings in every Confederation database, were the Deathworlders. Species from high gravity, hostile planets where everything evolved to kill. Where survival meant becoming a predator. Earth checked every box on that list. "They're afraid of us," Webb muttered, scrolling through the data. "Not because we're strong. Because we refuse to stay down." His first officer, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, nodded grimly. "The psychological profiles don't lie, sir. Most species in the Confederation evolved on garden worlds. Gentle gravity. Abundant resources. No predators. When they look at humanity, they see monsters." Webb closed the file. "Then maybe it's time we lived up to their expectations." The blockade begins. The Confederation's containment was absolute. No human ships were allowed beyond the Sol system. Any attempt to break the barrier resulted in immediate destruction. Earth watched helplessly as trade routes opened around them, connecting every other species in this corner of the galaxy. Everyone except humanity. Dr. Sarah Kim worked in the underground research facility beneath the Gobi Desert. Her team had one mission: find a way through the blockade. Not by fighting, Earth's military knew they couldn't win a direct confrontation, but by thinking differently. "The Confederation relies on predictability," she explained to the assembled scientists. "Their ships follow optimized flight paths. Their weapon systems use standard frequencies. Their strategies come from 10,000 years of fighting the same way." She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. Red dots marked Confederation patrol ships. They moved in perfect geometric patterns, like clockwork. "But humans," Sarah continued with a thin smile, "we don't fight fair. We adapt. We improvise. We cheat." The team worked for months, studying every scrap of data they could gather. They learned that Confederation shields were designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. Their sensors were tuned to detect standard drive signatures. Their tactics assumed rational behavior from enemies who valued their own lives. Humans would give them none of those things. Operation Breakthrough. Commander Rachel Foster sat in the pilot seat of the Prometheus, humanity's first true warship. It wasn't impressive by Confederation standards. No reality-bending weapons. No shields that could shrug off a star's heat. Just titanium armor, chemical rockets, and nuclear warheads that would make any sane species shudder. "All systems green," her co-pilot reported. "Suicide charges armed." Rachel hated that term, but it was accurate. The Prometheus wasn't designed to survive its mission. It was designed to succeed despite dying. That was the human way. Confederation patrol ship detected, the tactical officer called out. They're hailing us. Ordering us to return to Earth. Ignore them, Rachel commanded. All power to engines. Activate the ECM. The Prometheus accelerated, pushing toward the blockade line. Electronic countermeasures flooded local space with noise, making the ship appear as a dozen ghosts on Confederation sensors. The patrol ship fired. Lance beams of coherent energy that could vaporize asteroids slashed through space. The Prometheus twisted, rolled, pushed its engines beyond safe limits. The beams missed by meters. Impossible, the Confederation captain must have been thinking. Nothing that primitive should move like that. But humans had been flying atmosphere fighters for centuries. Dodging missiles. Outmaneuvering enemies. The skills translated perfectly to space combat, and the Confederation had never faced an opponent who fought with such reckless creativity. The Prometheus close to weapons range. Its missiles launched, simple chemical rockets tipped with fusion warheads. The Confederation ship's point defense destroyed them easily, as expected. Then the real attack began. Hidden among the missile swarm were hundreds of smaller objects. Ball bearings. Steel rods. Paint cans filled with metal pellets. All traveling at relativistic speeds, too small and numerous for point defense to stop. The kinetic storm tore through the patrol ship's shields like paper. The Confederation captain had barely registered the threat when his ship was shredded into expanding debris. Rachel allowed herself a brief smile. One down. Time to go home. The Prometheus turned back toward Earth, trailing smoke and radiation. It had survived, barely. But more importantly, it had proven something. Humanity could fight back. The message sent. News of the patrol ship's destruction spread through the Confederation like wildfire. The reactions ranged from shock to disbelief to rage. How dare these primitives attack their betters? How dare they use such crude, brutal tactics? But beneath the outrage was something else. Something the Confederation hadn't felt in millennia. Fear. Ambassador Chen received the new transmission personally. This time, it came from the High Council itself. The tone had changed completely. The Galactic Confederation recognizes humanity's right to self-defense. A diplomatic delegation will arrive within one standard cycle to discuss Earth's potential admission as a protected world. Chen read the message twice, then started laughing. It wasn't joy. It was bitter understanding. They don't respect peace, she told the gathered human leaders. They don't respect science or culture or potential. They respect power. The willingness to bloody their nose. Captain Webb joined the conference from Unity 1. So what do we do now? Accept their offer? No, Chen said firmly. We negotiate. But on our terms. They wanted to contain us, to keep us locked in our corner of space. Now they're afraid we'll break out. She looked around the room at Earth's finest leaders, warriors, and thinkers. Let them be afraid. Fear is the only language they understand. And humanity just became very fluent. The alliance nobody expected. Unlikely partners. 3 months after the Prometheus incident, everything changed again. Not because of humanity's actions, but because of what they discovered hiding in the asteroid belt beyond Mars. Dr. Sarah Kim's research team detected the signal first. A weak, repeating pulse in a frequency range no human technology used. When they finally decoded it, the message was simple and desperate. We are the remnant. We seek those who defy the Confederation. If humanity can hear this, respond. We offer knowledge in exchange for hope. The signal came from a hollowed-out asteroid that had been disguised to look like lifeless rock. Inside, Captain Webb and a diplomatic team found something unexpected. Aliens, yes, but not like the proud Confederation delegates who had judged Earth from orbit. These were refugees. The remnant called themselves the Keepers. They had once been part of the Confederation, a species gifted in engineering and energy manipulation. Then they made the mistake of questioning the architect's authority. Their homeworld was burned. Their people scattered. The few survivors had been hiding for generations, moving from system to system, always one step ahead of Confederation hunters. Why contact us? Webb asked their leader, a being whose name translated roughly as Whisper of Stars. We're barely holding our own against the blockade. Whisper of Stars made a sound like wind chimes. Laughter, Webb realized. Because you are the first species in 5,000 years to bloody the Confederation's nose and survive. Because you fight without hope of winning, and somehow win anyway. Because you are exactly what the galaxy needs. The exchange of knowledge. The partnership began carefully. The keepers were traumatized, paranoid from centuries of persecution. Humans were suspicious, remembering how the Confederation had dismissed them. But necessity made strange friends. Dr. Kim worked directly with the keeper scientists. What she learned revolutionized human understanding of physics. They're not more advanced than us, she explained in her reports. They're differently advanced. We focused on chemical and nuclear reactions. Brute force. They mastered energy fields and quantum manipulation. Elegance and precision. The keepers showed humanity how to create energy shields. Not the impenetrable barriers of Dominion species, but efficient fields that could deflect or absorb attacks. In return, humans shared their weapons technology, making the keepers' eyes widen with horrified fascination. You deliberately create uncontrolled explosions? Whisper of Stars asked, watching footage of a nuclear detonation. At close range? To your own ships? Webb shrugged. If it works, it's not stupid. The cultural exchange went both ways. Keepers learned about human art, music, and most importantly, human stubbornness. Humans learned about the true history of the Confederation, the lies it told, and the countless species it had crushed or contained. The architects maintain power through fear, Whisper of Stars explained. They convince everyone that their way is the only way. That peace requires hierarchy. That different species cannot truly cooperate. Sounds like Earth's history, Ambassador Chen noted. Empires rise. Empires claim divine right. Then someone punches them in the mouth and suddenly they're willing to negotiate. Building the coalition. Word spread slowly through underground channels. Other outcast species heard about humanity's defiance and the Keeper Alliance. They began reaching out, cautiously at first. The scavengers arrived next, a species of small, quick beings who survived by raiding Confederation supply lines. They offered intelligence in exchange for protection. Then came the Void Walkers, crystalline entities who lived in deep space and hated the Confederation's territorial expansion. They brought knowledge of hidden routes through space that standard sensors couldn't detect. Each species brought unique skills. Each had been labeled too dangerous, too unpredictable, or too different by the Confederation. Together, they formed something new. Not a government or military alliance, but a network of mutual support. Humans called it the Free Coalition. The Confederation called it a terrorist organization. Captain Rachel Foster, now promoted to admiral, commanded the growing fleet. It was a bizarre collection of ships. Human vessels with their brutal efficiency. Keeper frigates wrapped in shimmering energy fields. Scavenger raiders that moved like schools of fish. Void Walker craft that seemed to phase in and out of reality. They'll never take us seriously, her tactical officer warned. We're a patchwork. No standardization. No unified doctrine. Rachel smiled. That's exactly the point. The Confederation fights the same way every time because it works. We fight differently every time because we have to. They optimize. We improvise. The first joint operation. The mission was ambitious. A Confederation supply depot orbited a gas giant in the Tau Ceti system. It was heavily defended but crucial to their operations in that sector. Taking it would send a message: the Free Coalition wasn't just surviving. It was fighting back. The attack began with the Void Walkers. Their crystalline ships approached through dimensional rifts that Confederation sensors couldn't detect. They emerged inside the depot's defensive perimeter and immediately started jamming communications. Then came the scavengers, dozens of small ships swarming like angry insects. They were too numerous, too fast for point defense. While the defenders focused on them, human ships approached using the Keeper's stealth fields. The Prometheus II, Rachel's new flagship, led the assault. It combined everything the Coalition had learned. Human armor and weapons. Keeper shields and sensors. Scavenger speed. Void Walker phase technology. The battle lasted 17 minutes. Confederation defenders fought with trained precision. They followed doctrine perfectly. They coordinated beautifully. And they lost completely because the Coalition didn't fight according to any recognizable pattern. Void Walkers phased in and out, striking from impossible angles. Scavengers distracted and confused. Keepers disrupted shields with precisely tuned energy pulses. And humans delivered the finishing blows with their characteristic explosive efficiency. When it was over, the depot was captured intact. More importantly, its databases were full of Confederation secrets. Fleet movements. Supply chains. Political tensions between member species. The message that changed everything. Admiral Foster stood on the bridge of the Prometheus II, looking at the captured depot's command center through the viewport. Around her, Coalition forces were working together. Humans and Keepers calibrating sensors. Scavengers and Void Walkers coordinating patrols. Different species, different languages, different biologies, all functioning as one unit. Send a message to the Confederation High Council, she ordered. Open channel. I want everyone to hear this. When the connection opened, she didn't waste time with diplomacy. This is Admiral Rachel Foster of the Free Coalition. You called us Deathworlders. Outcasts. Primitives too dangerous to join your perfect civilization. You were right to fear us, but not for the reasons you think. She gestured to the mixed crew around her. We're not dangerous because we're violent. Every species can be violent. We're dangerous because we refuse to give up. We're dangerous because we adapt. We're dangerous because when you pushed us down, we got back up and made friends with everyone else you'd pushed down. The channel was silent. She knew the entire Confederation was listening. You wanted to contain humanity? Fine. But you can't contain an idea. And the idea is this: cooperation beats domination. Different perspectives create strength. Unity doesn't require uniformity. Rachel leaned forward, her face hard. We're coming for your empire. Not with weapons, though we have those. Not with conquest, because we don't want to rule. We're coming with the truth you've tried to suppress for millennia. That the galaxy doesn't need the Confederation. It needs freedom. She cut the transmission. Around the bridge, Coalition crew members stood in silence. Then, slowly, they began to cheer. Different voices, different languages, all expressing the same emotion. Hope. The war begins. The Confederation's response was swift and predictable. They declared the Free Coalition a galactic threat. They mobilized fleets. They demanded member species choose sides. And to their shock, some species chose the Coalition. Not many at first. A handful of protected worlds that had been growing restless under Confederation control. A few Dominion species who saw opportunity in chaos. But enough to make the architects nervous. Ambassador Chen coordinated the diplomatic efforts from Earth. We're not trying to replace the Confederation, she told each potential ally. We're trying to make them irrelevant. Build something better. Something voluntary. The Keepers spread technical knowledge freely, something the Confederation never did. Humans shared tactics and strategies without demanding payment. Scavengers taught intelligence gathering. Void Walkers showed hidden routes through space. The Coalition grew not through conquest but through cooperation. Captain Webb, now commanding Earth's home defense, watched the reports flood in. Confederation fleets were moving, but slowly. Internal debates raged about how to handle this unprecedented situation. Some wanted total war. Others counseled negotiation. The architects remained mysteriously silent. "They're scared," Webb told his officers. "They built their power on being the only option. Now we're showing there's an alternative." The war would be long. The Confederation had thousands of worlds and millions of ships. The Coalition had passion and creativity. The outcome was far from certain. But for the first time since achieving faster-than-light travel, humanity wasn't alone. They weren't the underestimated species anymore. They were the catalyst that sparked a revolution. And across the galaxy, in hidden bases and secret meetings, outcasts and rebels watched humanity's example and thought, maybe we can fight back too. The Confederation had ruled through fear for millennia. Now they would learn what humans had always known. Fear works both ways.